Welcome. I'm Holly Hampy. I am the Program Director for the Health Administration Program for undergraduate and graduate. And today we are going in the series again with the Day in the Life of. We have the pleasure of Mr. Richard Seiber. He is the Executive Director from Marketing and Public Relations from St. Clair. And I welcome you to Robert Morris.
Hello, Holly. Great to be here on you.
We are doing the Day in the Life of, and one of the classes that we'll be using this for is a marketing undergraduate and graduate class. And thought you know it very, very intimately, knowing what how St. Clair runs their marketing and public relations. It's been a top act and class one in hospital marketing.
Oh,
so,
thanks.
So first question for you is if you could describe your journey that got you to the executive director position from your education and your experience, what led up to this point?
Well, I always, when I went to undergrad, like a lot of students, first couple of years, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, but I sort of the idea of sort of doing something business related and creative just sort of led me into marketing. And when I first started, I went to IUP for my undergrad. I got a degree in marketing. And my first job out of college, and I actually ended up staying there for a while, was back in the 80s, and cable TV was big. That was, most people watching this probably don't even watch cable TV anymore, but cable TV was big. And so I entered into the cable TV world, and really sort of started more, it was marketing, but it was actually more sales related, probably when I first started, sort of sales marketing. And we'd travel around and go to places in West Virginia and stuff where people would be pulling us out of the car to come and sell them cable TV because it's their connection to the world. So I did that for a while, and then gradually moved up within there. It was called it's Comcast Cable now, but it was called TCI then. And so through the years, I stayed a long time at cable TV company, and I sort of got antsy after about I don't know, I was probably there about 10 years, I guess, and then I took an opportunity with Duquesne Light, and from sort of my pattern all through this is that I sort of think of as marketing and communications and public relations as a defined skill set, and you can take that skill set to other industries. I think there's always a learning curve of the knowledge of the specific industry, but the things you learn to do, writing and being creative and working on ads, is transferable. So I went from cable TV to electric utility company, and at the end of my years at TCI, I went back and got my MBA at Pitt in concentration in marketing and focused on that. And then I went to Duquesne Light for quite a few years. And then once again, I sort of got the itch to move on and do something different. And then I switched over to St. Clair about 7 or 8 years ago.
What made you go into healthcare? Was there a reason for that?
Geez, healthcare, it just seems like it's always growing. And it seems like there's always new opportunities in healthcare. And especially in the Pittsburgh market, meds and eds are so big, and it seemed like an opportunity for growth, and it seemed like there was a lot going on in healthcare, and there still is that sort of drove me there.
Now, a question that the students have said: how did you find a position at St. Clair? Was it a headhunter, or was it through?
No, I was lucky on that one. I probably, what had happened when I was at Duquesne Light is that they went through a period of just slashing and cutting costs, and I was on several teams I think that's all I did for 2 years was cut costs, and I just can't do this anymore. And no, I'm lucky there. I just went on the internet and searched jobs, and I just sort of threw my hat in the ring because I didn't have healthcare experience. I applied for the job at St. Clair thinking that, I don't have healthcare experience, but I was pretty confident, like I mentioned earlier, the skill set I did have was very transferable. I might not understand like medical technology or medical terms, but the basic fundamental was still there.
Yeah, you weren't going to go operate on somebody.
Right.
And so words can be transferable from.
Yeah.
Now, Rich, as far as a typical day, is there a typical day for you, or is there kind of a typical month for you? Describe what you would do on a day-to-day basis.
Day-to-day basis, we have a plan throughout the year of sort of the different marketing initiatives we're going to work on, and that's usually based on what's happening at the hospital. There's a strategic plan for the hospital, what they're going to work on, what areas they're going to grow in, or physicians they're going to recruit. So a lot of what I do is based on the tentative schedule of what we're going to do in the next 6 months or a year. So if we know like, for right now, we have like a pretty renowned breast surgeon who's gonna be starting at the hospital. So everything I do, marketing, communications wise, is sort of centered around that, developing an advertising campaign, press releases, and so it's all, but then what makes it, what happens every day too also, because we have the media portion of the hospital and public relations, any day can be turned upside down with a call in from a reporter, or something bad goes wrong with the hospital, or something happens. So your whole day can get blown out of the water pretty easily.
Yeah, as a chief quality officer, my day could get blown out of the water with the Department of Health stuff.
Right, exactly. You can't plan that, and you just have to adjust. Right?
That's right,
Yeah.
you just gotta have a good plan that you can go to plan B if you had to.
Right, right.
Now, explain your department. Who do you have that work within your department, and who do you report up to?
Okay, I have underneath me, I actually have 7 people. 4 are more related to marketing and public relations, and that would be a manager of communications. And what he is the first line for our dealing with reporters in the media, and he also is an editor and a writer. So he'll produce like press releases for me. He'll work on articles. We would do like a quarterly magazine. He'll work on that, edit that. And then I have marketing assistants that handle all of our community outreach activities. You know, if we are in the community doing health fairs, she works a lot on that, and she sort of maintains the day-to-day information on the website. And then I have a second person that does sort of similar things as well, does a lot of work on the website, and she handles a lot of internal requests in the hospital for marketing and for communication needs. There's a constant need every day, somebody in the hospital needing a brochure, flyer, whatever, that she handles a lot of that, maintaining that. And then we also, underneath me is the fundraising portion of the hospital that raises donations and events, and we handle events too as well.
Twitter and
social
Facebook
media,
and
yeah, social media is handled. So all of our social media outlets, and it is time consuming, because everyone wants to do social media, but it's it's not that easy. It's not to quite frankly, to think of something interesting every day to tweet out or post.
and I'm not a tweeter, so
no,
I don't
it's you have to sort of think of something that's sort of topical, and because you want people to read it, and you just want to just throw out facts on the hospital, because I know no one's going to read that. So trying to be topical and think of something every day. Yeah, what's funny, we will work on that. We're just
every day there's a tweet?
We try to, yeah, a couple times a day, yeah. We try to keep up there, right?
Public relations and marketing have definitely changed with social media.
Right.
Hospitals always have to stay a step ahead of what's being posted out there about it.
Well, actually right now we don't even, that's funny, because that is always concerned with Facebook, is that maintaining, we want to be transparent, but at the same time, we're worried about, quite frankly, if somebody, it could be incorrectly post something negative about the hospital on Friday night or something, and we don't see it. It is a concern, so monitoring that is a concern. Right now, we don't have our Facebook page up right now, because we were going to, and just, and Facebook seems to be dying down some a little bit in popularity, and it was hard to maintain, quite frankly. And I don't know if we really got that much of a return of it as a hospital. We weren't really seeing it.
Now, you've talked about marketing and public relations. If you can dive a little more deeply into the marketing people and what their focus on marketing, like, what type of background do they have?
Okay.
And what do they do to market the hospital?
They do have marketing backgrounds. They do have degrees in marketing or communications, and they work with a lot of individual offices and departments to produce materials for them. That is a big portion of what they do. Like they need collateral materials to promote their services. They need collateral materials to promote maybe a speech that a doctor's giving somewhere. So they do a lot of work working for other departments. And we're sort of like almost like an in-house advertising agency for the department. So anything they need, they pretty much come for us. So they might need photography done, or they might need video done, and we'll arrange for that. So that is almost like an in-house sort of an ad agency is sort of the role of the marketing department. In public relations, I have one person dedicated to that pretty much, and his role is dealing with the media, and one thing we would like to actually do more, but we don't have a huge department, is to be more proactive with the media. Like he'll try to place stories, reach out to reporters about something new the physician's doing, or something going on at the hospital. That's a big part of his role as well.
The staying proactive, if you're anticipating the government coming out with a report on infection rates or something, is that what you mean as far as proactive?
Right.
Going
If
to the media before they come to us, come to you about.
Especially, obviously if it's a good story, and he'll work with some reporters. Like if a national story comes out or a state story comes out, reporters like to, when they report on it locally, they always like to have that local angle or a local twist. So he'll reach out to a reporter and say that there's a new study on breastfeeding or something, and we have somebody at the hospital that's an expert in that. They'll be available to speak to you about that. And so we try to do that a lot. But then when you get that crazy day where the world turns upside down, you can't do it.
Yeah.
But he does. That is something he does and likes to do, and should actually do more.
Now, you talked about a marketing strategic plan. How does that get developed? And is it a plan for a year, a plan for 2 years, a plan for 5 years?
Just recently, the hospital completed a strategic plan for 5 years, and I'll meet with our senior management team to figure out what the priorities are going into the next year. A lot of times they don't have an exact schedule of how things are going to roll out in the next 5 years. But for instance, I know there's a big push in the healthcare industry on primary care. So a lot of what I'll do in the past 6 months, a year, will be promoting primary care. So I try to match, the marketing plan has to match up, directly with the strategic business plan of the hospital to support all their needs. So whatever they're doing, even if it's something even if it's like a bricks and mortar sort of thing, if they're building a new facility, we have to make sure we just support the new facility and make sure everyone's aware that it's there. So it has to work hand in hand with the business plan.
So the strategic business plan's developed, and then you would then look at that, develop a marketing plan based on that.
Right, exactly.
And how do you, with the marketing plan, how do you, on an ongoing basis, determine whether you're on task or if you have to regroup or?
A lot of it, especially a lot of the work that we do, it really depends on patients and numbers. So if I'm promoting an urgent care center, I watch every day to see how many, I get addicted to it actually. I watch every day to see how many patients came in yesterday, and then we'll adjust it, or if it's doing well, then we'll devote maybe some of our money to something else. But a lot of it is feedback from the individual practice and service lines within the hospital, sort of their volumes. And if their volumes are doing well, that's the best determining,
It's a good metric.
Yeah, if their volumes are doing well, is usually how I base it. It's pretty simple, really.
Well, you talked about the marketing and public relations staff. One of the questions in a discussion post was whether a hospital needs a separate person to do marketing and a separate person to do PR, or one person could do both. What's your thoughts?
I think I think you have to be multifunctional task. You can't put yourself in a silo. The PR portion also does marketing, and then I'll rely on some of the marketing people to do some PR depending on what our schedule is. But we don't have a huge department, obviously, and you have to be willing to do as many different things as you can, wear as many hats as you can. And it's also integrated that it just overlaps tremendously. When I was at Duquesne Light, and this is a little tip for you people out there, when I was at Duquesne Light, I worked with a person who in our department just said, I'm advertising, and that's all I am. I don't do public relations, I don't do marketing.